happy Thanksgiving, at least for those of us in the States and everywhere else. Today is a holiday. I understand that many of you out there will not be participating live, which is fine. You've got you've got family, friends, a day off from work, all that good stuff. But because I'm a bit of a fool and I love RPGs and I like to be a little consistent, and I'm an early riser anyway. Let's get it going. All right. Oh man. Um, yeah, we were talking just before we went live. We are talking about game design, and I was talking about slop. I'll bring that up maybe next week. Um, oh, sorry, Omen. Well, listen. Sit back, relax, and just absorb what we're going to talk about today. All right, so this entire week, we've been talking about Thanksgiving. Well, not the entire week. Tomorrow hasn't gotten here yet, although unless you can go through time and space, it will have already passed. But today is Thursday, and as your self-appointed third pillarist, I absolutely positively love talking about the third pillar of gaming, which is exploration. And for me, exploration, hey, P, happy Thanksgiving. Yep, she says happy Thanksgiving, kiddos, and we all out here appreciate it. Now, the third pillar of gaming, the exploration pillar, also includes the environment, and I love using the environment. It's like that. It's that perfect triangle that I love. It's that thing that can take and twist. Oh, you're so silly. So what's happening today? Well, today, not only we're going to talk about the environment, I did want to bring up something else before we start getting a little squirrely before we start talking about the environment and all that kind of stuff. I did want to say that a lot of the talk that I was bringing up and have been bringing up may feel like it's coming one-sided, and that is not my intention. And it is not my intention, of course, to even stereotype the setting that we're talking about, which is leaving the old world and going to the new, which is essentially the theme of the thing that has come about, talking about Thanksgiving and how we can use that for RPG fuel. But to me, I feel like I've been reinforcing this idea that the old ways are the bad and evil, and and the new ways are, perfectly good. That there is an inherent goodness to it, and that may not be the case at all. And I didn't want to come across that way, but I guess I felt like I did. And oftentimes, sometimes given when we leave a place that we know, we grow and we act and we live in a system. Many times, many of us hold those systems to be, upright and true, even if we know they have problems. But when seen from a different light, maybe we get to see in the dark cracks when normally we didn't have an outside source to look at those things. So while I very much was trying not to absolutely positively relate this to real world events, you can't help but relate it to those real world events. So yes, it is possible that someone can leave their old world, get to the new world, and realize, you know what, the new world sucks, and the old ways are actually far better than the new ways we've created. So, but I think the drama happens when similar to kind of a little conversation Joseph Keenan and I had yesterday about the fact that nuggets of good exist probably, I'll say, universally in just about every place, and then a lot of those nuggets of good are like buried under like lots of idiocy and stupidity and evil and decadence and power hungry manipulations and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and tabletop games lets us deep dive into those things. All right, so as you can tell, as you can probably tell around me, this way, this direction. Um, Thanksgiving has a lot to do with uh, traditionally, image-wise, has a lot to do with the fall, with the harvest, with the transition from the hey, infinity, yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Yeah, we please thank everyone. Hugs go around. Here comes the cranberry sauce. So it deals with the harvest and our transition into the cold. Yeah, there's a DBJ on the YouTubes there, Joe Key. Yeah, Roanoke Colony was bad for as colony as for bad things happening. Yeah, where is that colony? Are they still around? No. but you get my point. You guys get the point where you know none of us think that it's neither creative nor fun to just be like what happened? Yeah, and exactly whatever happened to those people. Um, well, if we're creative, we can come up with a ton of things that happened to those people. Yeah, I I don't know. I I don't think anyone really knows, and I think it's going to be up like it's one of those urban, well, not quite urban. It's a mystery, much like the Bermuda Triangle. What happened to the disappearance of different peoples and colonies, and sailing ships and airplanes and things like that. So, all right, so the transition and the tradition of the harvest, especially in a region that goes through all four seasons, winter, spring, summer, and fall. During that fall season, that's the time when uh, the tension starts, right? Because everyone knows the winter time is coming, but it hasn't gotten here yet. But we get to see the leaves change. Animals migrate to warmer locations. The bears and other animals start to hibernate, and they're collecting their their meager foods like squirrels and other small ground and tree uh, creatures start gathering nuts and berries and things of that nature to pack away for their time. And there's also this tension building because everybody and anyone who's anyone knows that if you're not prepared and you don't know what the winter's going to bring, that this could be life and death. And the survival of that, the idea that we know we have enough food packed away, we have enough warm supplies and firewood and those kind of things that was packed away and use it for the next to allow us to survive for the next, I don't know, 2 to 4 months in the harsh, brutal cold. Will we know that we're ourselves and our legacy will survive on? Yeah, yeah. Plura says there's a TV series called Supernatural, which has some stuff about it, about the disappearing of the Roanoke colony. Yeah, yeah. Joseph Keenan's like, Happy Thanksgiving to everyone as well. Any holiday with food and family and friends, I will celebrate. Yeah, yeah, I think so. There's something about eating and conversing, the socialization of food. That's awesome. Um, And Dead Man puts in the Wikipedia article about the Roanoke colony refers to two attempted colonies in the Americas. And again, the transition into the harvest fall season, the idea that this will be the last time we're going to plant seeds in the ground. We hoped that early in the spring that our labor uh, brings with us the fruits of our labor so that we can survive again. And we've used this method. I guarantee you guys have done it. I know I've done it, where there's the idea that a small town or village has trade routes and farmland and things like that, and the people are running around with a faster pace. They're a little bit worried, and they're like, yeah, we need to get these things done. We need to get through the valley before it's socked in by the storm, winter that's coming around, or the last ships are coming into dock to drop off their wares because there won't be ships coming by for the next 4 months when the rivers or the lakes or something freeze over, that kind of thing. Yeah. Ooh, oh. Now, is it caramel or caramel? Let's fight. Because I love both. So, hello, well, hello, Scott Poe. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Now, the other part of the changing of the seasons, the going into winter, can also be like a psychological one, meaning like it is fall is the time of preparation, and the player characters may need to prepare themselves and the people that they abide by, the people that they are loyal to, the ones that have come with them to this new world, and prepare themselves for a time when they won't be able to go out very easily and travel the land, and they won't be able to go out and dungeon delve and slay things because they will be environmentally trapped in with everyone else, and I think that's kind of a good thing, especially if enemies and rivals and adversaries are in a small space, and I say small because relatively speaking to spring and summer, you get to get on your mount and go out riding and never come back. But when the winters hit, you can't, it's very difficult to travel out that far, and it might be that you need the help of your rivals to survive through the winter. At the same time, they don't like you, you don't like them, and there might even be some kind of lethal intention, as opposed to a rival or an adversary who is on your side, but like you guys don't like each other. You might actually have enemies that require everyone to be there, to defend the realm from enemies that just might poke their heads up, to enforce the law, to scavenge for foods and other things. And if you need them, but you also hate them, there might be backbiting. There could be a murder that the PCs need to solve. There might be creatures. I'm not sure where that saying's from. Now, Joseph Keenan says, good and bad in the New World, a colonial setting I have on the back burner has a mixed nation. Fantasy races, natives granted lands to runaway slaves to help fight the invaders from the old world. A lot of that was the tension between trying to bargain with the people that you despise and they despise you, and then as a side effect coming up with like this understanding. You might have a newfound understanding of what they're going through and them you, and then taking that information and bringing it into light with the people you're with who still hold on to the old hatreds is I like that tension involved when someone's world is shattered by their beliefs, and then they then have to go back to their in the midst of their old way of thinking, because that's how their people think, and then you might even be ostracized for wanting to befriend the outsider, the barbarian on the borders, right? Because everyone that isn't you is a barbarian of some sort, some kind of barbarian, pagan. You could come up with all kinds of terms, but essentially that's what people do, even while spouting the idea that people shouldn't put them in a box. They'll use that same terminology for others. Like those people always think that we're like a certain way, and I shouldn't be stereotyped because those people always stereotype me. And you're like, wait, what? Did you just wait? What did you just throw a stereotype into a self-defense of yourself of being stereotyped? You're like, wait, that's bizarre, but okay. Yeah, Plur says there are two A's. It's like It's like you lot fail at aluminium with the I. Aluminium as opposed to um, aluminum. Hmm. Which one of those? Yeah. Yeah, talking about the caramel and the caramel. Well, we're a lazy bunch as well. We like to cut off the end of a word, throw out the middle. Doesn't matter. uh, yep. Yep. Aluminium as opposed to aluminum. Joseph Keenan says Protestant religions didn't celebrate Christmas, but they started because they wanted to keep an eye on the flock and bring money in during the winter. Traditionally, in northern climes, people hold up. Yep. The tension and also trying to put some morality plays into gaming, which I love. I love the idea, even if it's done in a minor way. Like this, let's take the one of the most stereotypical encounters we could think of. PCs and orc raiders, right? Barbaric orc raiders going into the village or something. And imagining these orc raiders must, through their travel, whatever course of events happen, they are now stuck in a location with the PCs. And they know, whether by instinct or just intelligence, that were they to raid this village with the PCs in it, that act will cause them to die, that they won't have food, they won't have shelter, they won't have warmth to allow them to survive the winter. So do you work with them to survive through the winter? And if you do, will things change? Now, of course, you've got your players that are like, well, no, I'm looking at the monster manual right now, and it says they're chaotic evil or something, right? You've got that idea. And then there are others that are like, well, it's is it nature versus nurture? Maybe we can each change. And then there's the idea of the PCs going, oh, we can change the orcs, and the orcs are like, maybe we can change them. Or they're going to be those in the background who are like, I see them talking with each other, but screw this, man. When I see the first melt, I'm slicing throats. I don't care. I don't like these people at all, and so on and so forth. And so adding in a morality play, no matter how it turns out, might be very important, especially if a young a young mother ends up pregnant from either or both the human and or orcish side, and there is there's a little bit of a fling going on, and in the most innocently romantic sense, and or the most vile um, sense of assault, things might change quite a bit, and that would be just a strange and weird and lovely course of events. There's some other things. I'm going to go back in the chat here and then move on to maybe another subject that sparked in my head. Let's see. Pelora says, is there still this weird taboo in America land about wishing people happy holidays instead of Christmas? That happens every year because we have people, the United States is a melting pot, and not everyone celebrates Christmas in the traditional sense of Christianity and Christ, but many people celebrate the idea of buying and giving of gifts and eating food and getting together with family. So uh, as we did in our week of holidays, that sometimes holiday seasons are absorbed, changed, twisted, manipulated. Histories change, the purpose of those things change over time, even from generation to generation, household to household. So, people get on their high horse and they'll blame corporations for not celebrating the holidays the way they would, which I'm thinking, like, why would you care that a major corporation, like, I don't know, what is it, Starbucks, always got in trouble for the cups they made, and it's like, this is about Christianity and Christ, you people are bad, and it's just like, I just roll my eyes, because it's it's kind of like trying to beat somebody about the head and shoulders to make them think something that you do, as opposed to be living a good example of what you think your ideal is, and making that the selling point as opposed to trying to force other people, which doesn't work. Um, yeah. Scott Post says, Pelor, not for real, but some people get triggered if you don't wish them a Merry Christmas from the day the day after Turkey Day, even though many holidays occur around them and the phrase is meant inclusively. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. Yeah, some people they get offended by it. It's a weird thing, you know. I think some people just like to be triggered. I think we love emotions dump endorphins into us, and I think some of us get it's a free and easy drug that we can take, and I think sometimes emotional extremes, laughter, joy, anger, crying, rage, all those things, fear, are endorphin dumpers, and sometimes people miss that feeling, or at least miss the feeling of having a feeling in the first place, and so try to artificially spark that feeling as we get more and more immune to having an emotional response to things getting worse as we become more apathetic um, in and around our world. But I squirreled ourselves. So getting back to you know today's third pillar Thursday. So I got to talk about the environment. One of the great things about having the changing of the seasons is that it's a great excuse for you to change the environment. I brought up the idea of the typical stereotypical mountain valley socked in by snow, and at one moment maybe the woods are verdant and green. You could have a lively jungle with lots of animals, and it's um, alive with life and wonder, and then completely change that. Maybe there's tree fall or rains coming in. Maybe it starts to get colder, and yeah. Oh, I'm sure I did. I'm not. I can't see myself at the moment, but yeah, cat stalking behind, like what's going on back there, trying to get on camera. But uh, oh, Plura's like, autumn fashion is best for fashion. It is best fashion. Fight me. Fight. But yeah, heck, even the idea of putting on warmer clothing, sweater weather sometimes is referred to, breaking out the wool jackets and the scarves, and knowing that you're not going to be able to wear the shorts and the sandals any longer, open-toed shoes and such. What was the idea of not wearing white past Labor Day and all that kind of business. Yeah, sweater weather. That's a thing, and how you're dressed for the occasion can be an indication of something. I mean, if you come from a tropical island nation and that's your old world, and you get to this new world that has all four seasons and and a sense of extremity or extremism, I'll say, in the weather systems, you might be, if you're used to walking around in barefoot on sand and soft earth, and wearing not much more than a loincloth and maybe a chest covering, you're going to be in for quite a bit of a surprise when the fall season hits, and then going like, wait a minute, it gets worse than this. Yeah. Yeah, we have those in the post office too, dude. Yeah, I have a friend who wore shorts all year round. Yeah, and also as the weather gets extreme, we get to play with that in a tabletop game, right? High winds, fog, um, the even the heavy foliage wilderness will start to go away as the leaves fall. So that place, I don't know, I'm just making an example. Like, let's say that ranger that was able to hide in the woodlands now is thinking like, gonna have to operate quite differently now. Now that there's not as much foliage covering my passage, there are leaves on the ground that are now golden and orange, that when walking upon them might make more noise. There are once alive tree branches and things start to, especially if they're older, are now more likely to break and fall. There might even be trees that are old and ancient that have fallen across roads that normally, during the living season wouldn't have happened. And so, yeah, hmm, yeah. Joseph says, why didn't it just zap me back to the start? I missed a minute or two. Um, Maybe mostly Irish, but my body loves the tropics. Give me the 90 Fahrenheit heat and high humidity with a gentle breeze. You know what? There's all of us that are like, the fight between would you prefer it colder or warmer if you were forced to live in one or the other. And a lot of people say, well, you can always put more clothes on, you can't take enough off. And others are like, oh, I can take enough off, all right. Scott Post says the first cold snap of the season means the the fire berries are ready to harvest, but also means that the deep forest walking trees will have required their yearly need for meat once again. Ooh, ow, ooh, ugh. Yeah. Hey kids, don't go out into the wilderness. Why? It's fall. Yeah, you're just gonna feed the trees, right? Yeah, I mean, what a great excuse, of course, to have the seasons change how we interact with things, right? Those fire berries and those walking trees that are just like, yeah, we're gonna collect some meat for the winter. Maybe that's where old drunk ass Joe went out there to stumble around in the woods and never came back. But we found his hat and his trusty jug of ale, but we couldn't find his body. And lo and behold, he's stuck under the roots of a tree or something. And like I said, was bringing up before, migratory acts, right? Those dangerous predatory birds or something. Yeah, exactly. Those dangerous predatory birds that are flying overhead are heading somewhere, and while they're hungry and trying to escape from the cold temperatures from the north, flocks of these dangerous birds might not be a thing you want to encounter when they're normally encountered one or maybe two at a time. Also, let's go back to the classic owlbear, right? Patrolling around in the nighttime like an owl, getting ready to get enough food to pack on enough fat in its body to hibernate through the wintertime. Got to worry about those kind of things as well. Yeah, Joseph Keenan's like, yeah, great stuff for Mutant Crawl Classic. Yep. Also says Northeast Ohio fall means hitting the apple orchards and vineyards. Yeah, the middle of Pennsylvania, there is an annual what they call turning of the leaves, where people will go out and um, like here in Ohio, we have Hocking Hills, which is kind of like in Pennsylvania, there's the Poconos, and every place has this where there is a region known for tourism. Uh, I guess you could relate it to naturalistic tourism, going into the woods and mountains and going out and watching the trees, walking amongst the fall, drinking hot cider. I think it's called wassail here, hot chocolate and things like that. So yeah, playing playing all kinds of physical sports outside because the chill. If you're not moving, the chill can kind of get in your bones. But if you start getting your body heat up, that's why there are lots of outdoor sports during this time of the season as well. Yeah, Scott's like, thanks. I would love that. Yeah, DB in the chat are always inspiring me. That's the whole, kind of the, I don't know. I guess the channel name could be world building itself, but yeah, we do that a lot where we're like inspiring people. Like, oh, wait a minute, how about this idea? No, 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 no. Let's take this idea and turn the volume up on it. Yep. Yeah, and like Joseph Keenan says, yeah, I don't normally do fantasy, but the conversation gets the creative juices flowing. We could also relating the harvest season. Pelora brings up Zumba and hot chocolate. um, Zumba, the exercise. Okay, I'm with you. I am with you a lot. Brandywine. Grew up near a place called Brandywine. Yep, yep. Linville Orchards, the Brandywine vineyards. There's a place called Kutztown, which it's a great place to do harvesty stuff going on. tractor rides on sitting on bales of hay and being pulled out into the fields and things like that. Yeah, kind of cool. Also, what else comes with harvest? And maybe I'm mixing my seasons, and I apologize for that. But there are the farmers do things with different types of livestock based on the season. So, like for example, some animals give birth during, like, we think of like the spring and summer. Some animals are taken to slaughter for the fall and winter. There are methods that are used to protect their livestock, or maybe even like drive cattle from one part of the country to the other part of the country, especially if we're doing an analogy to before the United States became the United States, and driving the cattle from one place to another. Plura brings up especially the Welch, Zumba, and hot chocolate. uh, but there's also the idea of things shifting and changing. Maybe the PCs are like spies, and it's pretty easy to go in and out of town during the spring and summer, but when the fall hits, they know that at some point they're going to have to close their doors, yeah, because of the winter time, and they know they're not going to get that many visitors. Maybe it might be far more difficult to travel unnoticed in and outside of a city state or something like that. Also, there's certain foods that are made at this time, like you guys are bringing up, like chocolate, um, Olathe sweet, sweet corn. I don't know that brand of sweet corn because I know you put the trademark in there, but yeah, there's certain things that we eat and are prepared at this time of season. Like I have Yule log downstairs, a pumpkin roll. It's basically cake and cream cheese icing, and then you roll it up. You know. Anyway, I love myself some Yule log. Keenan says, for the folks old and hippie enough to get it, about 15 years ago, was driving out to Boston for Thanksgiving. Alice's Restaurant came on just as I saw the sign for Stockbridge, Massachusetts. Yep, pumpkin spiced soy lattes. Yeah, for those of us that are lactose intolerant, got to get that soy milk in there. Yep, pumpkin spice in your favorite drinking establishment is a big thing as well. So yeah, I can't I can't agree more with that change. And also, you know, th- more than the environment, this is the kind of like the idea that this is the last chance or most difficult chance to meet with family and friends, especially over long distances, because it might be very difficult to travel when the weather is bad. Now, to hit on Joseph Keenan's love of modern day and science fiction, there may be an analogy to it might be that there are places in and about, say, a solar system or an alien world that represents their winter time. Um, yeah, Polaris brings up like indoor games are probably more prevalent in autumn and winter. As you're closed in. There's the idea of um, going stir crazy is a term where you're locked in for the winter and you're playing board games and card games and singing songs and such. But at a certain point, you're just like, I gotta get out of here. Yeah, Dead Man brings up the Olathe Sweet Corn Festival. We got a corn festival here in Ohio as well. Uh, Also, these festivals before everyone gets locked in. Maybe these festivals are places where you can get rare and exotic components for um, magical rituals or something. Yeah, cabin fever is another way of referring to being, going stir crazy. Where yeah, cabin fever. There are movies and TV. There's a movie called Cabin Fever, I believe. Anyway, the idea that you're literally and figuratively stuck in a small area with people, and you, they start driving you crazy and you start driving them crazy being trapped in a small place. We've seen that in science fiction as well. Small starship or small habitat. Heck, even our own true to this world International Space Station is a small place where you have very skilled, very intelligent people. Oh, Olathe. I apologize for that. It's pronounced Olathe. Olathe Sweet Corn Fest. There's a lot of kind of a bizarre thing that where we're able to take simple foods, corn, sweet corn festival. We've got a tomato festival, pumpkin festival. There's festivals for darn near just about every fruit and or veggie probably, as well as many meats and what you can do with them. God. The Joseph Keenan lives very close to the Great Lakes, and something that happens off the Great Lakes. I'm just bringing this up because in environment and whatnot. There's something called lake effect snow, and if it gets cold enough, and of course, if you live near a body of water, um, whether you feel it or not, there's always a level of moisture and evaporation in the air over top of in the surrounding areas for many, many miles, and or kilometers around a large water source. And when you combine that with cold temperatures and winds, that you get lake effect snow. And lake effect snow is like, it's not necessarily the clouds having moisture in them and dropping rain that just becomes basically the water in it and basically becomes snow. What happens is the temperature drops, it's dry out, but the wind picks up the moisture from the upper atmosphere, sweeps it off the lakes, swirls it around, freezes it, and then it drops back down onto the ground. And that's called lake effect snow. And so if you live near one of the Great Lakes and you live on the most likely eastern side of them, southern and eastern sides of them, you'll get that lake effect snow. And yeah, it'll dump tons of snow. Yeah. Yep, Joseph Keenan says this is a real thing. That is a problem. NASA is looking into for long-term missions to Mars. They are trying to discover ways to accurately test for the psychological strength it would take to survive long-term missions, and I think it's going to be a shot in the dark. It's going to be a real shot in the dark to figure that out, because it may mean that you send less skilled people who are better able to handle long-term missions. Like, I don't know, maybe people who are more, it might be that we might have to default to people who are far more Asperger's or um, uh, more along the spectrum, because they would be less likely to be affected by something like that. It might be a thing to look at. Yeah, Tesla Ranger pops in the lake effect snow, the lake effect snow link in the in the Discord. Yeah. Yep, I'm with you there. Yeah, Joseph says driving 20 kilometers southeast or west makes a huge difference with lake effect. Can be clear in one town and 5 kilometers away either way. Whiteout conditions. Oh yeah, there's a Highway 90 up north for us in Dante. Oh, what's going on there, man? Happy holidays. Now you just triggered somebody because you didn't say uh, Merry Christmas or something. But either way, you're absolutely right there, Keenan. Like you could have like absolutely positively whiteout conditions. Like I'm in Central Ohio, and northern Ohio could just be shut down from snow, and I would never feel it here. We don't really feel lake effect snow in Columbus, but you go up north, yeah, you just drive, and you just see like, why is the sky gray? And then you'll just drive straight into like blinding conditions and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Also, I'm going to go back to something that Scott Post said, innocently enough, but I'm going to pull on that thread, bringing up the idea that, like, Happy Saturnalia? I don't know what that is. You're gonna have to go a little deeper into that. I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, fight me. um, Pelor says, I wonder how other creatures could keep themselves warm or preserve energy. I have a dragon growing growing fur between its scales in my head now. It gets less cool the more you think about it. Well, um, other than hibernation, I'm not certain. I mean, Scott Poe brought up living trees, right? You got your living trees. Oh, there's the wiki for Saturnalia. But anyway, an ancient Roman festival in honor of the god Saturn, held on 17 December of the Julian calendar. I did not know that. Oh, I did not know that. Yes. I'll have to take a look at that. I love different holidays and things, especially something I don't know. I always learn something new. There it is. And later expanded with the festivals through to 23 December. You know, we talked about that in our holidays and festivals thing about how a holiday will be, let's say it's a pagan holiday, but then the the ruling class and the ruling religion will then absorb that paganism into theirs because they don't want a rebellion, but at the same time they want to kind of like manipulate people. So yeah. Yep. Um, mm, 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 mm. Yeah, Joseph Keaton's talking about, yep, I'm right off 90. Ooh, ow, dude. Yeah, yeah. One place can get a dusting and another can have 18 inches overnight. Yeah, terrible. So my feeling would be the classic, what is it, the treants, the living trees, and owl bears and stuff. Like, do owl bears shed their brownish feathers and fur to take on a white hue? Um, are there Arctic owl bears that come down from the north into the southern regions as the snow gets thicker and heavier? Are there other beasties out there in the wild, the Wendigo and the Yetis, that when the lake effect snow hits hard, they're able to they feel more comfortable traveling in and around with their I don't know, snow leopard friends or something to attack where you know, unalert travelers and pull them into the snows only for the snow to retreat, and you find out that they're the people who disappeared were killed by a massive beast that came down from the winter regions. I don't know. Week long. I can get behind a week long holiday. Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever have a week long holiday. Full Metal Slate. It's been a little while there, dude. What's going on? Why, thank you very much for joining in on a number of you guys waking up pretty damn early. I appreciate it. And then coming to us from overseas. I'm really digging this. So, another thing that we can think about is when it comes to like the environment and using that in gaming and tabletop gamings, is that as you gather your supplies for the winter, that also makes you vulnerable to people who want to get those supplies, whether it's rats getting into grain silos and smoked the place where you're smoking meats for the winter. It could be uh, long wagon trains of people who have pulled their last fruits and or veggies from the orchards and crops and pulled the tubers out the ground, and now you've got like, instead of one or two wagons, you've got like 20, 50, hundreds even trying to travel to one place or another to put their wares into their materials into warehouses or bury them underground, or however they're kept safe for the winter time, the winter season. And those classically chaotic creatures out there in the wild might know that, you know what, if we just wait long enough for them to do all the heavy work, we can just break in and steal their crap, right? So that also makes you vulnerable to a lot of these things. And have we, listen, I know Joe, I know you, Joe Key, you're more sci-fi guy, but Lots of wizards have spell components. I wonder if the fall and winter season is more difficult for them to collect those components, or maybe the price for getting Eye of Newt and those frog's legs or whatever it is that they're using for their spells, maybe the price quadruples because they're like, you could take this jar of eyeballs with you, but it's going to cost you 500 gold. 500? It was 10 gold last week. Yeah, but I read the Farmer's Almanac and winter's coming, and you're not going to get a jar of these premium eyeballs for quite a while. You might have to grab it on now. Um, Dante says holiday-based magic items. Cornucopia that produces a hero's feast spell on a certain day of the year. Oh, I'm feeling that. I love that. Yeah, it's 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 a powerful magic item that feeds many people, but basically one day a year. Yep, seasonal material spell components. Maybe what if the access to whatever powers are in the world, whether it's like psychic or magical or hell, even technological, maybe they change based on the season. So like you want to get me uh, Joseph brings up the Cardon equals Maple Fest. Got me thinking of early frost or bad winter affecting things like the sap collection. Yeah, oh, sap collections. That's right, because you knock the sap tap into the trees to drain the sap out of the trees. That might be a thing, especially if okay. Now, if the tree's normally alive but then hibernates over the winter, maybe that might be the safest time to get the sap out before they start to grow, or maybe this during their I don't want to call it their death, but like yeah, I guess you could say their transition from life to death. Maybe that's the best way to tap the sap before they crumble and drop their seedlings to grow new ones in the spring. Hmm. Yeah, fall or winter has a blight or extra cold that affects the planting in the spring. Yeah, so now listen, we all pay attention to every news station does this. Are we going to have 6 more weeks of spring coming? Are we going to have 6 more weeks of winter? What is it in Pennsylvania? Punxsutawney Phil, the Groundhog Day, those kind of things, and maybe that has a extreme effect on the capabilities and the adversaries that the PCs come across, right? Hey, if you're gonna have 6 more weeks of winter, that's 6 more weeks of the Wendigo going, oh, sweet, I get to rip some flesh, from the bones or something, right? Or, maybe there are winter lycanthropic peoples who are like waiting for the fall to come because they're going to turn into like white winter woven lupines or something, or lichens. But normally during the spring and summer, they don't transform. They're just they have a transformative nature based on the seasons, which could make sense that some adversaries are only up and about for certain seasons of the year, right? Like an example would be uh, maybe during the spring and summer seasons, the spring and summer fae, because we've seen this plenty of times with the fae courts, right? In the spring and summer, there's certain types of fae, or actually all 4 seasons. So there's the spring style fae, the summer fae, the fall, and then the winter, and that could affect how they operate. So maybe the sprites or the pixies are like, you know what, it's getting colder. We'll see you later. And maybe they're the ones that keep some of the more dangerous woodland creatures away. But the starving wolves out there in the wild now are, they're going to become the winter wolves and the death dogs and blink dogs and displacer beasts that we all dislike unless we feed them or force them to go to warmer climates or something like that. Dante says, quest that needs a certain festival to trigger an event, maybe only on the holiday when folks gather at the Stonehenge. The portal, yeah, the portal to the X is open. Yeah, although this it fits the same, talking about the holidays and things. Yeah, it could be that a specific we know about specific times and dates, right? Solstice, equinox, which I always confuse between the longest day and the the time when the days get longer and or shorter. So or daylight gets longer and shorter, and I always mix up the two between the solstice and the equinox. But yes, there is a celebration of those. There is the celebrations when, of course, the stars and moon get into a specific orbit in the planets and such. And equinox is okay. So equinox equals day, and where is the equality of day and night periods, and solstices are the point at which is it the point the transition from the shortest day going to the longer day and the longest day moving into the shortest day. I don't know. You guys can look it up for me. I'm not going to top it myself, but yeah, there could be a transition where a portal opens, or certain beings are able to be you're able to commiserate with certain beings at a certain time, or hell, you can get even real dark where there's the sacrificing one or more members of your own cult society and culture, like Viking cultures, where they would sacrifice one of their members um, to the Norse gods and such. Um, yeah, Joseph was like equinox was easy to remember, equal day and night, because of the the equity in the word, much like stalactite and stalagmite. Stalactite, because with the T means top. I don't know what the M means. M is mud. I don't know. But yeah. Now, something else that we can play with, kind of in the idea of I love the idea of reskinning things, and whether a what's a power like very classic Dungeons and Dragons ability in fifth edition is something called Misty Step, where you're able to. I think the wording is something like you're able to move a certain distance without physically moving in an intervening space, and you could really stalactite, yeah, ceiling, and stalagmite, ground. Okay, all right, I'm with you on that, Tesla. I might have to put that in my lexicon. Um, yeah, ceiling and ground. Yeah, although why did I focus on we're focusing on the T and the M, but whatever. It's the the idea of reskinning. Um, yeah, plurals is stalactites hold tight to the ceiling. What's that thing that the piercer falls from? The piercer and the roper. The piercers fall from the ceiling. The ropers are on the ground, and the piercers are stalactites. The ropers are stalagmites. Um, but we could do the same thing with our harvest regions, right? Like Joseph Keenan's was thinking of that for sci-fi, something like a desert blooming, a few days of eclipse on the moon of a gas giant. Yeah, there could be, and even in a sci-fi world, there might be an unexplained or very little explained phenomenon of like energy and I don't know, gases and magnetosphere and things like that. You might sit on a stalagmite. You don't want to. Ooh, I don't know. It might be fun for like all of 2 seconds, and then your world just goes really bad. Oh wow! Wonder if dragons have holidays. Would be a good time to raid the lair. Yeah, or if they're the concept of hibernating dragons, that they're asleep, and you can sneak past them to steal something before they awaken. That might be a thing, a real thing, where the dragons, or maybe there are creatures that their hibernation is far more like they turn to stone, or they dig their way down deep into the ground or something. I remember Pitch Black, but I don't remember the Asimov story. I know in pitch black there those creatures hibernated until the the sun's set so that it was pitch black on the planet, and then they came out of their, I don't know, ground based hives and such. Yeah, yeah. Hey, you're invited to Smog's Christmas party. Bring gifts. Yeah, you might want to bring at least one Arkenstone if you can find one, because he kind of likes that. Uh, yeah, that's funny. But absolutely. I mean, maybe there are some creatures that are less prone to violence. Even, your more bestial dragons that are like, you know what? I'm hungry. I'm sleepy. I'm gonna look. I know I can crush you like the bugs that you are, but I'm gonna curl up on my treasure here. Now I understand that you want to walk around, and that's fine. I don't mind having a conversation, but don't make me wake up, because if I wake up, I'm gonna lay lay waste to your entire region, and you don't want me to do that. So if you're here to ask me some questions, get it over with, because I'm a little tired. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that might be a thing. Yeah, solstice is the longest and shortest day. Equinox is the equality of day and night cycle. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Dragons Wake Day. Everyone has to hide as the local dragons rampage around, just waking up from hibernation. Ooh, damn. Man, they'd have to gorge themselves. That's pretty nasty. That'd be wow. So maybe during the winter season, instead of humanity hibernating, maybe there's this desire to forge weapons and to get allies and to build the defenses because of the spring that's coming upon them. So yeah, or for Joseph Keenan's idea for science fiction, you have a elliptical orbit for a planet that, when furthest during its two periods of time furthest away from, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be equal ellipse, but a planet that orbits in a manner where it goes far away from its sun and gets frozen, and then as it gets closer to its sun, it melts. And you could do this as a spin, where it's completely frozen on one side and burning on the other side. It could be tidally locked, where it's always burning on one side and frozen on the other side. It could spin slowly so that the entire planet is like this inferno until it starts to move away from its own sun, and then it starts to cool off to the point where it's like a frozen wasteland. Um, and there could be a holiday transition period, as everyone knows that this period of time is coming, and they start burrowing themselves down into havens, down into the icy depths, or they know that their habitats are going to be covered with miles and kilometers of ice during the long winter season, until it all melts away, and you have maybe like verdant growth in vast oceans during its um, boiling, when all the ice boils away, or something like that. Tesla says the Asimov story didn't have monsters. Everyone just freaked out because they had never seen a pitch black sky before. Oh, okay, okay. So I always bring this up before. I'm going to bring it up again. There's a sci-fi slash fantasy story written by C.S. Friedman that talks about When True Night Falls. It's the Coldfire trilogy, and um, it was a colony ship that went to the edge of the galaxy and landed on a planet that, during its rotation, would rotate out to face out into the pitch black of space. No sun, no stars, no moon. It was literally called True Night, where they did have nighttime cycles with a moon and stars, but there was a period of time that everyone would lock themselves away, because there was true night. And you could have a planet maybe that does that, where somehow it spins to the point um, where there are no stars or moon in the sky. It is literally pitch black. Plura like, suddenly turns into a bug's life, paying tithes to the dragon. Yeah, yeah, I like that idea. When the creatures wake up during the spring season and they gorge themselves because they're so hungry. Although that might be the best period of time to kill them at their weakest because they're bony. Hmm. Hmm. Joseph says can also have it as an erratic wobble, like an axle tilt. Earth is closer to the sun when the northern hemisphere is having winter. Yeah, you could do that, and do combinations and variations off of that. Um, Dante brought up Phoenix Fall, but it's called Nightfall. Pretty fall colors like reds and orange aren't just for trees anymore. A day to collect phoenix feathers and bury them in the hearth for good luck. Yeah, yeah. Also the for some reason the colors of fall remind me of rusted out hulks. And I know you guys know of the video game um, where there are rusted out machines. One of the main characters is a woman riding on the back of a rusted out mounted animal with a bow and arrow shooting machines. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but that might be a thing as well where there are automatons or clockwork machines or something that no one's found a way to protect the gear systems from. Oh, Nightfall is the Asimov story. Yeah, no one's been able to protect the gears from the oiled systems, and the rusted out hulks start to rust out. I'm sure that would piss off the gnomes in your world, but whatever the case might be, it could be that they need to be those machines which were protecting the world now are unable to. Is Horizon Dawn? Thank you there, Bognish Bockwinkel. Were you here before? You always hanging around. Bognish Bockwinkel. I love that. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Yeah, it's Horizon Dawn. That's the one. For some reason, that game reminds me of the fall, of like the changing of the season, just because of the colors, not necessarily because of the game itself. But I'm saying the imagery makes me think of that, and you could create a reason behind it where you have these rusted out machines because maybe it's very difficult for people to keep them up, and once the machines go down, you got to watch out, and we need to hide away for the winters as the winter season comes because those machines have been protecting us, and now those wild animals out there might be able to overrun us if we don't. Yeah, Joseph Keenan says, "Oh man, Tales from the Loop would totally lend itself to holiday one shots." I have both games from Tales of the Loop. For those who don't know, Tales from the Loop and Tales from the Flood, Tales from the Loop and Things from the Flood is a 80s and 90s respectively game where you play children. And it's one of the games I wanted to bring up. I wanted to do a week of games where death is off the table. And that's one of the games where you can't die in the game. You're a kid and you can't die. Now, other people can die, but you as a child can't die. Instead, what happens is you suffer so many setbacks that you get taken out of the game, whether it means you get grounded, you could become injured and go to the hospital. Uh, any number of things could happen to you that are scientific and or arcane. And I absolutely positively agree with you that Tales from the Loop is a perfect one-shot kind of game. Although you could play it as like graduation season. You could do like play kids as like 12-year-olds, and then each year 13, 14, as each year goes by, you play a one shot as each kid ages out, because once you turn 18 you can't play the game any longer, or you're less creative. Let's put it that way. You suffer the same fate as the other adults. Uh, Bognish Bonkwheel says, "I've been here a few times. Happy Tea Day, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to you." We've come to the hour mark, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there who celebrates it. If you don't, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Um, it is like we've talked about all this week, and we're going to have a show tomorrow about the harvest and all the things that lead up to it, and traveling from the old world to the new. We talked a hell of a lot about that. Yeah, Joseph says, "Grandma lives near the facility. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, Passover. Oh, yep." Hey, guys, we're going to do another one shot. What's this one going to be? Arbor Day. Sweet. Oh, man. Dante says, "Fall would be a good season to hunt rust monsters. Maybe they're out and about as their natural camouflage is better during the rust moon." Yeah. Oh, the spawning of the rust monsters. Mm-mm-mm. All the gnomes are all pissed off, and all the tribalists are like, "Hey, we can train the rust monsters and ride on their backs during the fall season." Oh man. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to do Future Friday tomorrow. Oops, I normally silence my phone. I apologize for that. I bet that was even a, yep, that's a notification that I'm live, which is an hour or two late. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for participating. Bognish Bunkwinkle, thank you for finding me yet again. For those who don't know, this show goes live. It is simulcast. The audio goes out into the Fantasy Grounds College Discord down there in the boiler room. It's also on Twitch and YouTube's, the Twitches and the YouTubes. I'm on Twitch with RPG with DBJ. I'm on the YouTubes, of course, you know where that's at as well. So guys, everybody, happy Turkey Day. Josuke is, "Oh, don't leave, DBJ. It means I have to start cooking the turkey and scratch some rolls. Cats will be up my butt, but the whole time, but the turkey is cooking." Yeah, you're up north. I can smell the food cooking from here, dude. But anyway, guys, really appreciate you guys coming in. I'm actually rather surprised that a number of you have been here. Bognish, thank you for popping in with a number of a number of absolute. You guys are absolutely loyal. Tesla and Deadman, I don't think I let you guys know how much you're appreciated. Omen, I hope this little chat gave you a little bit of a respite from what's going on with you. I apologize for not being able to be more effective in giving you some support, but I will be in the Discord for because I have the day off, of course. It's a holiday for me. I'll be in the Discord for a little while, so oh man, that's cool. So I'll be in the Discord, guys. Anyway, thank you very much. Your time is very valuable. I appreciate you guys spending it with me. I hope you're able to leave with a little bit of change.